It's getting darker. Yeah, maybe we should just turn on the lights a little bit. So welcome to practice. Well, welcome to this moment. I'm going to talk tonight about stingy. Sometimes I'm so struck by how the words that we come up with for states are so apt. Stingy. It's a really good one for what this is particular frame of mind and way of being and refraining from. So there are a lot of different ways to be stingy, just as there are a lot of different ways to be generous. And I'd like to scroll through some of these to honor this precept. I believe it was taken up on Tuesday night. And it goes, it seems very obvious what it is about. And yet the energy, the energetic, the consciousness quality of stingy goes beyond whether we give something to somebody. So that's kind of the aspect of stingy that I want to talk about. So do not be mean with dharma or wealth. Do not be mean. Share understanding and give freely of self. We could also subtitle this precept, The Joy of Giving Things Away, or the inherent generosity unimpeded by human stinginess. Because we are the life forms that are stingy, actually. I don't know of any other life forms that can be stingy. The natural world gives freely and generously of its provisions. The writer, William Least Heat Moon, are any of you familiar with his books? He's a wonderful writer. When writing about the desert, said, the desert is stingy with everything except space and light, stone and earth. I think that really captures the aspect of stingy that I work with in relation to this precept myself. An environment, even in an environment that looks really spare, an environment, a natural environment or the environment of our life, the elements that make it up are complete. There's always giving going on. So many life forms live in the desert. There's plenty of sun there, and there's very little water. Lizards, geckos, toads, jackrabbits, camels, snakes, snails, spiders, cactus, creosote bushes, Joshua trees, armadillos, mesquite, agave. These are just a very, very few of the life forms that are supported fully and have a complete life in the desert. And then there's the natural order in the forests, in the woodlands, where the leaves dry out and fall to the earth seasonally to become home to earth creatures and become nourishment, compost, that then evolves into the next round of forms that take life there and that give us our food. So there's no holding back in nature. I mean, we're part of nature. We do the kind of holding back that we do. But the natural world, other than humans, not so much. There's no stinginess in the natural order. There's no stinginess in our Buddha nature. So we are not of the nature to be stingy. Only us humans. So what are the ways that we hold back? I encourage you to, as you work with this precept, to notice when you hold back. Not with a stingy heart. Don't notice with a stingy heart. Notice with a generous heart, but with interest. Oh yeah. When working with the precepts, each of us has a lifetime to work with them and to observe when we're holding back. The precepts are our practice for the whole of our life. All the many ways that we do it, all the ways that we hold back. We have habits. We have habits. So, are you a stingy breather? Let's start with Zazen, huh? Are you a stingy breather? Well, don't be. When we're extravagant with breathing, we're fully alive. This is one view of breath a breath that is fundamental to awakening. Our breath is fundamental to being wide awake. Attending to breath which is freely given, freely received over the years of a life of Zen practice. Many breaths. And it leaves us knowing our own breath when we practice, when we follow breath, when we notice breath. This is the most intimate condition for our life. We notice breath. We say breathing out and breathing in. And when we get interested in this function during Zazen, this interest can begin to generalize into our full life. We become more and more aware of breath and breathing in our daily round. This is one way that this practice of breath is so vital. Going out, coming into alignment, awareness, and breath together is how we save our life, our true life, which is what this practice is all about. It takes a lot to be true, to be authentic. It takes a lot of presence, a lot of relaxation. How relaxed are you? Are you stingy with relaxation during meditation? Are you stingy with relaxation when you are really paying attention? It takes a lot of faith in the wholeness of our life and a lot of patience and recognition of all that we've received and continue to receive. There's nothing stingy about our life as it is given. Whenever we're in tune with a wholeness, with this view of wholeness, and are awake to the one clear, bright Dharma nature of all of life, when we are that aware, we can't be stingy. And you may have noticed, I mean, a lot of you have been practicing a long time, you may have noticed how much more generous you are, how much more freely you allow your treasure to flow forth, giving to others in all kinds of ways. There's a connection between how generous we are with ourselves and how generous we are with other people. These mind states tend to go together. When we get caught in the stinginess of inner critic, it tends to flow out in a lot of different ways that make us very unhappy, and that share that unhappiness feeling with others, whether we intend to or not. When I'm in friendly relation to myself and grant myself permission to wholly engage, to wholly receive, then I know the joy that wholeheartedness brings. And I don't refrain from it in my dealings with others in my life. It becomes clear also how my holding back feels when I have really experienced the wholeheartedness that we're all capable of, fully giving ourselves to anything that we do and everything we do. We really notice when we're holding back. It's like a crink in the heart. So let's just note right now how stinginess is a feeling in the body. Is that true for you? Is it a feeling in the body? It is for me. There's a certain kind of feeling in the body when I'm feeling stingy. No, I won't. It's not yours, it's mine. Another aspect of stinginess has to do with time. How do our habits about stinginess and generosity affect our experience of time? This thing that we always seem to not have enough of, but we maybe you always have enough of, maybe you have plenty of time. How can this precept help us with the ever insistent push of not enough time? This hurry up of the schedule of our lives. Hurry up. It's one of the things that can be really almost a crisis for people who retire. We really become entrained to the schedule, and suddenly we don't have a schedule imposed, and it can be really, really difficult. So can you remember a time in your life when the days were so much more spacious? When you woke up in the morning and the day rolled out in front of you, taking its time, leaving you free to linger, to breathe into it, perhaps. There is no such thing as wasting time. It's where all of our life unfolds. And a lot of life unfolded before we were scheduled out of our life. And I'm not talking about the conditions so much as the state of mind. All of it, when we are not in that stingy state of mind in relation to time, all of it is fully ours. No matter what we're doing, what we have to do, what's on our list. So rushing through our days, futuring in our thoughts, the days can feel really stingy. They can really have that tight feeling, holding back, holding on, at the ready, defending, offering us meager slivers of our own time as we fly along like a speeding car. It's such a common phrase now. People say, oh, I just need some time of my own. But the thing is, it's all our own time. Appreciating in all of the activities, whether we are assigned them or we elect them, we choose them, it's all how we approach it. And so I think about this in relation to that feeling of stingy. I think it's a good one to appreciate. We can compare this everyday hurry-up feeling to the feeling of sashimi. When we were in retreat, for every moment, even though there's a schedule, and it's a very strict schedule that we follow, every moment is given its full due. We help each other do that. We're all acting as one, behaving as one. We have room to notice that our relationship to each moment is one that can be stingy or generous. Anytime, I mean, that's one of the things that's so interesting about sesshin. If you've done sesshin there, if you probably haven't yet done sesshin, but is you can really notice the feeling in the body and the state of mind that you're bringing to even zazen. Ring the bell, come on, ring the bell. And the guy, the person who's ringing the bell is really stingy. They're waiting till the last minute of the schedule to ring the bell. So each moment can feel stingy or generous. And really, it's kind of like magic in zazen to bring up, if you're sitting there and you're kind of not knowing what to do, just bring up the generosity of this moment. And instantly, it's like magic, instantly it opens. And also time doesn't belong to us alone. We share it. We're always sharing it with those we love, those we work with, those we play with. It's an elaborate concept. Time is a concept. And we must be willing to be generous with it, within ourselves and with others, to be leisurely enough to listen. I noticed, I ran into somebody yesterday at Bald Hill, who we usually stop and talk for a long time. I met her the first day that I did Zen, actually, in Seattle many years ago. And she said, I can't stop. And do something, or I'm kind of overdo something. But the way she said it there was so much room there. It was such a caring. When we walked away, I thought, wow, she did that. Even though it wasn't like, I gotta go, goodbye. It wasn't like that at all. It was wide open and very spacious, very mysterious. Yeah. And of course, I wanted to bless her and say, oh yeah, go, it's fine. So we don't have to be stingy even when we're in a hurry, because it really is a quality of mind. When we're so wrapped up in our single agendas and the delusion of time, thinking that time is apart from our very being, it's separate from our being. It isn't. There's no separation. There's no separation of anything, anywhere. And part of this stinginess with time is a consequence of thinking that we're in control. Because when we insist on believing that we're in control, and that is our central intention, then we get really stingy with time. When you realize there's so much you can't control, you can get pretty stingy with what you can. So there's another place where this precept is really relevant. When control becomes your primary intention, and I think many realize in the course of practicing that is a primary intention to be in control. I mean, it's so tied to a sense of safety. I mean, it's a primal prompt, actually. But when we're not aware of it, we don't work with it, we don't make room for that, then we get all kinds of difficulties, and we can start getting filled with complaint. And we have to be completely in control, and that's our guiding star. It's the source of trouble and suffering. It even qualifies as part of the delusion of the self, of the separate self. So here's a quote that I always like this particular writer. Think they work you too hard? Think of poor Ali Sard. He has to mow grass in his uncle's backyard. And it's quick growing grass, and it grows as he mows it. And the faster he mows it, the faster he grows it. And all that his stingy old uncle will pay for this shoving mower around in the hay is piffulous pay for 2 dupas a day. And Ali can't live on such piffulous pay. So this is what we're up against. We complain about what we're not getting when we're caught up in this hurry up and the stinginess of the old uncle of our ordinary life. Before awakening, we want more pleasing conditions, more suitable to our tastes, but the faster we go, the faster we don't get what we think we're looking for. Before awakening, there's so much stinginess. There's so much that feels held back, incomplete. But after discovering this spacious mind, there's always satisfaction no matter what is offered. When we have the mind of practice, the mind of the way, there's always satisfaction. Not to be too Pollyannish about it, but even our troubles, even our worst troubles, are the source of really important learning about the nature of our life, our true nature. Dharma Master Dogen comments on this precept. He says, "From the beginning, not one thing has been begrudged." I think that's just a terrific statement. From the beginning, not one thing has been begrudged. That in itself is a koan, isn't it? You can kind of carry that around with you and consider it when you're kind of pissing around with something that's like not working. When everything is realized as practice, when practice is our foremost intention, then all things work together and can help us awaken to whatever we haven't noticed about life, about our life, however it is, whatever it includes. And when we're stingy, when we're caught in the sensation of there not being enough, or there being something that's off, we're wrapped in this worry about having enough, having the right thing, making us feel that we have to hold back in order to have enough. This is the faithless realm. This is when we don't have a sense of faith in the rightness of our life, whatever it is, where the self is bound up and separated from our essential wholeness. Because when we know that we are whole and entire and complete, we experience the joy of giving freely. Joy that's just freely offered. I mean, it's not even anything joy is not the result of a willful act. It freely arises spontaneously. You know what I mean? It just comes up at the oddest times, often. Not even connected with conditions. So the choreographer George Balanchine said to his dance troupe once, "Why are you so stingy with your bodies?" You can just picture what was going on in the rehearsal. "Why are you holding back? What are you saving for? For another time? There is no other time. This is only right now, here, right here." This permeates. And then somebody else, I said, a good worker can't be a cheap worker. She can't be stingy about wasting materials. And I think of material or immaterial material. And She cannot compromise her offering, cannot refrain and hold back from wholehearted engagement. Those of you who've been here for work days and know what samu is, that's what we call work practice, know the chant that we do before we work that talks about the benefits. As we work, we purify our minds. What does that mean? To purify our mind? Right here, this. As we work, we actualize our practice. This is the only way that we do actualize our practice, as we function. As we work, we benefit the earth. Not careless with what we have to work with. As we work, we liberate all beings. We demonstrate engagement. We inspire and help out. So persevering, taking our time, having patience, persistence, and faith. We stop marching to some tempo that distracts us from our treasure, from our true treasure. It stops us from harmonizing with our very breathing. It stops us from harmonizing with our very breathing. It's one of the gifts of Zazen, isn't it? When you are a Zazener, then that is your habit. You know that you can always work with your breath to cope with anything that comes up. It helps. Not to be a stingy breather, but to be a wide awake breather. And our life is no longer caught up in a stingy spirit of measuring, of marking out how much we have and how much we need. It's the breath of eternity, inhaling and exhaling, appreciating and expressing, and offering the treasure that is our life. So these are some thoughts on this precept of don't be stingy, offer freely, appreciate the opportunity to offer freely because it's such a joyful way to live.